SwingNation, people grooving together.
Welcome to SwingNation episode 83 for April? Yes, April 2017. This is Spuds, and in the direction of the show, we wanted to do different things. So last month, obviously, we did a interview that we did with Sonny Allen, which is great. If you haven't watched it, go look at it because he's awesome. And we spoke about other things. Continuing the diversification of the show, just so we can get some new and fresh content up here, we decided to do a little panel discussion, and I'm going to introduce the people down there in the bottom of the screen in just a moment. The topic and the subject is Black inclusion in Lindy Hop. It pretty much centers around that. There have been some topics showing up on Facebook feeds about hiring black musicians and including, blacks. And for me, for Spuds right here, I see this come up nowadays more so than I've seen it come up when I started. When I started, Lindy Hop was back in 1997, and it was a different story. Also, I grew up in New York, so it was a little different story. Now there's this, I don't know, maybe politically correct aspect that's just been added to the Lindy Hop scene. So conversations are stirring up about black inclusion in basically a black originated dance. So my attempt was to have an all panel of color. That's my favorite term. Don't laugh at me, Remy. And how hard was it to find black people to talk to? But I got some for you today. Or am I talking like this? Because I'm trying to make a little light of a conversation. It's probably going to get a little into it. So if you got some time, sit back and watch. We have on the panel, I think I always get your name right, but I'm going to screw it up. Remy Kouakou Kouame. Is that right?
That's
close enough.
Right. Good. That's fantastic. Good.
Thank you. Remy is a former world champion boogie woogie dancer, and he holds several titles now at the International Lindy Hop Championships as well as other places. Seasoned dancer, instructor, and performer. Remy, thank you for being on the panel. How's it going, man?
I'm great. Thank you for asking me in a way. Like I'm sorry for you that you had to find somebody from France to join the conversation. But no, I'm happy. I'm happy to be a part of it. It's a conversation that is in the air for a little while. That I had stuff to say personally about the subject. So I'm happy that we can have this.
Yeah, for me it was more cultural diversity here. We're not all on the panel. We're not all, we're not all going to be originating from, United States.
No.
Also on our panel, we have Lindy Hop dancer, performer, instructor, and winner of the Hells of Poppin' Championship at Harang. Isn't that right, Sara?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
You did that thing. And also...
I did that thing.
A person that I am lucky enough to have held her hand in front of students while we taught a few times, and hopefully that'll continue at some point if I ever get a gig. It's
I love it.
Sara Deckard.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm really excited that we're having a conversation about black people by black people. I guess that's where I'm.
There you go. She's so
most excited about to have this. I know, I'm nervous, you guys. This is really uncomfortable.
That's all right. It's just the entire Lindy Hop community listening, and
I know, right? It's a little intimidating.
Well, welcome, Sara. Thanks for being on the panel. And also, we have winner of the Pro-Am division at ILHC, a young lady that I got to meet for a fun time. Remember that, Andrea? We were chilling, we was hanging out.
I remember briefly.
Dancer, and ladies and gentlemen, Andrea Gordon is here with us.
Hi.
How you doing?
For the wah-wah of the panel, but I will represent the social dancers, the aspects. You guys can represent the pros.
Oh.
I'll represent the everyday black guy.
The everyday black guy. All right. And, hey, everyday black guy. What is that? The sign behind you is where did you get that? The Frankie Manning?
Right. Got it.
Wow.
Yeah. Spice up my one thing I want to have at work.
That is terrific.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, this is meant not to be really a super formal panel. It's kind of informal, but let's start in with the fact that we're having this conversation now. Well, we're having a conversation now, but the community seems to be bringing up these conversations. There was a thread on Facebook that I mentioned that's since been deleted, but it kind of sparked this. And it was kind of a conversation between whether we should hire black musicians or not. Let's not get too deep divey into that one, but it did spur a young lady, I think it was Amber Lee Jones, who said that she was interested in creating a Facebook group for black swing dancers, a place for us to share ideas about how to create a more diverse scene, what ideas worked, what didn't, what changes we face, what microaggressions we face, frustrations, blah, 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 blah. And so my first question to anyone in the panel who wants to kind of field it is, what do you think sparked this nowadays, this kind of conversation about inclusion of blacks in a black-oriented dance? Does anybody?
I feel like one of the reasons why it's kind of coming up now is, or rather more recently, is from like the passing of Frankie Manning. And I know that that was one of his goals, and one of the goals of the Frankie Manning Foundation was to do more outreach into the black community and to young people, and also all around the world. So, but it was definitely one of those goals, and something that Frankie wanted for Lindy Hop and wanted to see in Lindy Hop was just more inclusion of people who made it. So I think that probably started it, kind of like softball started it a while ago. And then now recently, I'm sure that I know at least in all of my friends and in my feed, I see a whole lot of social activist type posts that are going around for all sorts of types of issues. So I know that, people care about things, which is nice. And so I think they're more aware and more ready to sort of like jump on stuff. And especially with our current political, climate and everything like that, I feel like it's contributing to this sort of like, we want to talk about stuff, we want to solve problems, and everybody's kind of in this sort of activist spirit right now. So I think that's probably, part of it anyways.
Yeah, it's definitely an environment right now of huge sensitivities towards a lot of things. I mean, we have sensitivities towards gender, right? Follow, lead, not guy and girl. Sensitivities towards, safe spaces with the whole Stephen Mitchell thing and the recent Max thing. And now sensitivity towards the races.
Which goes the opposite way, in my opinion, though. I think, like regarding the lead and follow thing that is happening, like since a couple of years already, it's more about like not like stopping the genderification about like a woman can be a lead and a guy can, like a man can be a follow. And I think with the race is kind of the opposite way. Like for me, this is a really like sensitive subject. Like there is a lot, I'm sure, and I know there is a lot of good intention, but the thing that I'm afraid about sometimes is like to create more division than gathering people and different races together. Like if I have to be really honest, like first thing first, I'm not American, but I'm a black person. So do I feel connected with the roots? Of course I do. But I'm really happy about the scene as it is right now, the diversity that we have. Like I have a Japanese as a partner. Like I work with an Italian. Like for me, it's like we are lucky that the world is participating to this thing that yes, black people created. But I mean, it's beautiful. it shouldn't be a problem. It should be we should celebrate that. Like, it's a powerful thing. But I understand the concern at the same time. So,
Right.
like, for me, it's like I'm every time skeptical with this type of subject. I've been skeptical when I stepped in the scene. Like, I've been kind of dragged into the scene by Ryan Francois, which is a black person as well. And when I started to work with him or alongside him, I was every time questioning, and actually I had a lot of conversation with him to, like, asking him if he wanted to work with me because of my talent, or because I was black, or because I kind of reminded himself when he was younger. And it took me a lot of time to believe in his answer when he was saying, like, no, it's because of your talent, not of your color. But at first I was skeptical about it. And actually, one of the first things that he asked me to do was to play Frankie Manning role, like part, during Elsa Poppin in the Frankie 95 recreation, when I never stepped in the Lindy Hop scene before. And I refused, because I was like, I can't do that. Like, just because I'm black, I can't do that. Like, I wouldn't feel, it was Frankie, we had 95. 95. I felt like I wasn't ready to step in the middle of the entire community and the man himself, because he died after they already started the practice for the number. And I was like I couldn't, like, it wouldn't have feel right for me to be there.
Right.
And having the legitimacy to be Frankie Manning. And for me, it was just because I was black. So I refused to do it. And I'm really happy that I did, because that would have been opportunistic on my side, in my value in life. So, yeah, this is a subject that I'm really happy to talk about, but I'm also sometimes skeptical about, because sometimes I'm afraid that it would create more division than recognition to the people that have created that dance.
Right.
This is what I think.
Remy, you bring up a really good point. I mean, it might be an issue where it's not just non-black people who are feeling this kind of, when you said, you were asking Ryan, look, are you asking me to do this because I'm talented or because I'm black? And that's coming from a black person, right? So in this environment now, it may be also, we are all feeling this kind of sensitivity to our own race. Andrea, we were talking before the call about this kind of over acceptance of black people in the scene. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I feel like that's kind of connected. Can you speak a little about what you were saying?
Well, I just felt like, I was a Frankie Manning ambassador, and a lot of, really great things came about. A lot of networking opportunities, able to speak that I was otherwise too shy to talk to. It was great, but I felt like the way that it kind of connected me to the scene, that it made me sort of, it put me on sort of a pedestal or in a spotlight. And I just felt like I was accepted because I was black, that like everyone wanted to welcome the black person into the room. It just made me question my own growth as a dancer after that point. It made me, did I win this contest because, everyone knows Andrea, the Frankie Manning ambassador, the black girl. When people would say that they like my style, are they talking about my style? Or are they talking about the way that I naturally move? I would get myself wound up in these conversations that got really really about my physicality, and really about my how my body moves, and they would make it seem like that it was something that they couldn't take on in their own body because I was some sort of special unicorn, that I could do things that their body couldn't do. And that made me really question whether or not I was really progressing, growing as a dancer, or if I got this sort of pass, for being black in a lot of spaces. And that made me question every accomplishment that I had. It made me kind of not want to do any of those things. And kind of stole some of the goodness of those moments.
Right. You almost get the feeling that it's kind of let's say we're in Bizarro world where the majority of dancers in Lindy Hop were black. You would walk in a room and you wouldn't feel the same thing you feel. Because I'll say personally, I've been in this for a long time. I've been dancing since 1997. And I can, still walk into a room right now and it's not even a realization anymore. It's just a fact. I may be the only brother in the room. But it's not something that I kind of think about. It's something that I have accepted, right? So I already feel like a unicorn in a space which is supposed to be created by my ancestors and by my people. But it didn't seem to be that big of an issue, for me at least, back when I was growing up in New York and I was dancing. And, like I mentioned earlier in the call, I lived in New York, and Frankie Manning was teaching at Sandra Cameron, and every once in a while Chaz would come out or Norma would come out, and I would go to Wells and watch Frankie dance and see all Frankie's friends, and be in Harlem and be amongst blacks. So it wasn't a thing that was weird until, I think, Sara, you mentioned it, our mentors who were the pioneers of the dance started dying off.
Yeah.
What's so that my personal experience is kind of is sort of, I know I'm a unicorn, but it doesn't bother me that much. What are some personal experiences you guys want to share? I mean, about anything about awkwardness in the scene or whatever. Sara?
Well, I can relate just to Andrea and what you were saying about kind of questioning your merits. Like, I feel like there's a lot of times when I was approached to be somebody's dance partner or to teach at a certain thing. Like, I still get requests for teaching Harlem style Lindy Hop. And I am not from Harlem, and I do not claim to do Harlem style Lindy Hop.
You're not Swedish.
Is right, and this is the thing. And actually, they referenced that too. They're like, "Oh, we'd love to have you come and teach the Harlem style Lindy Hop," kind of like they did in Harangue. And I'm like, "Well, why don't you hire them then? Because they seem to be the authority on Harlem style Lindy Hop." And that was a whole nother sort of interaction that was weird. But I remember like one story, like from way back when I first started. There was this I remember it was like an event in San Diego. It was that New Year's event, the Rhythmic Arts Festival, and there was a very prominent person, one of my teachers, said that even way back then, said that I should do Josephine Baker stuff because I had the right body type, right? And I'm like, really? Like, that's what it is? It's my body type? Because I don't think we have, so whatever I didn't see it, right? Like, and I didn't think that really had anything to do with whether or not one could dance like Josephine Baker. And I honestly think there's only one person who can dance like Josephine Baker, and that's her. But, and I was very reluctant. Like, I avoided doing anything about her or inspired by her for a very long time because of that association that was put on me even before I really had gotten into her work. You know what I mean? And, yeah, so it also like basically affects like every sort of artistic decision that I make. Like if, like songs that I choose or certain types of things, I don't know. It's just kind of, yeah, I always wonder why people were interested in me, and especially when I first started dancing, because I got so much help from so many different people, and I didn't realize it then at all because I grew up in the suburbs and like I was surrounded by white people all the time, and it wasn't really a thing. It didn't really enter into my consciousness until fairly recently. Like I would say even like the last 5 years, I was pretty not sort of woken up to it. And it's really only recently that I kind of look back on certain interactions and I'm like, I mean, and not just regarding race, but regarding all sorts of things like gender dynamics and classism and all that kind of thing. But
right.
Yeah, so now now I'm seeing all of these things through this lens, you know what I mean? And it's like, wait a minute. And so it's making me like question even my entire sort of Lindy Hop upbringing and career, and sort of like, I guess, why I'm here and on this panel even, and why people care what I have to say about it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So thank you for that, Sara. Remy, I have a question for you. You're an A-level instructor right now. You get hired a lot. I don't care if you're going to say that you're not. You are pretty much an A-level instructor, which means you get hired a lot and you get a lot of gigs. In the current climate now that we have very few, I'm going to take a stretch. Please tell me in the comments if I'm a jerk. Very few black A-level instructors that has as much exposure as you do, Remy. Do you feel when you get hired or when you're out there, do you carry your race with you, or do you just carry your talent with you, or do you even notice that you are way different than everyone else in the room as far as?
No, I think again, like, it did cross my mind on multiple occasions about people comments, or like, is it because of me, or is it because of what I have to give, or is it because of my color? And I really get over it. Like, seriously, not that I think that I'm awesome, but I can now value what I have to bring. And what I have to bring is not necessarily something about my race. It's not something about like, it's something about my roots, but not my race. And when I say my roots, is like my own, like, how I grew up, what was my environment, how I connect to music, how I move my body to it. And it's funny because since the last couple of years, I get this question, like, two different type of question. And the first one is, how come, like, you black people move differently, like you have something extra? And this question is something that kind of surprised me at first, but the way I answer it is the fact that it's not about the race, it's about the environment. Like, from where I come from, like from a poor area, music is everything. But there is people from different ethnies, different races. Like, there is white people, black people, Arabian people in France. It's a big community. We have Asian. And basically everybody connect together as youngsters. Like, from where I come from, if there is music during a people gathering and you're not dancing, you are the weirdo. So it's not about being black, it's about being surrounded by this. And we move. We don't think about dancing, we just move. Like, we didn't think of ourselves as dancers. And so this was for family reunion, friends reunion, when we get to clubs. The best way to react to music is to move. And if you sit on a chair, people think you're sick. And I think this is the main problem with people entering the scene right now, is like, probably from where they come from, they never really express their movement on music. And this is for the first time that they discover that. And maybe from like a lot of people in the community where they come from, if they were dancing, maybe they were the weirdos if they were dancing. So they wouldn't have danced. So for me, every time I keep saying that it's not about, like, there is connection regarding the race, but then this is the environment. Like, trust me, I know, and I've seen, and I'm still seeing black people that doesn't have any sense of rhythm. And this happens, and this is not exception. I think it comes from the environment, like how they spend their years. What did they do? Like, if they were used to move, if they were surrounded by people that were moving. And so, this being said, I had white people that are dancing way better than me, or way better than black people. I have Asian people that can groove like crazy. And I think it's a question of environment. And this is the thing. What I'm happy about with the word is that at some point, like, cultures and ethnies like get mixed, and then we all share what we had, and we embrace the others ones. And I think, yes, African cultures get shared and accepted and embraced by a lot of other communities. And this has to be, this doesn't, like, we shouldn't forget about that, for sure. This is why this whole question is important for me on that level. We shouldn't forget from where it comes from. But, like, again, For me, it's like hip hop. Like I'm a DJ, and I'm into the hip hop culture a lot. And like hip hop is something that, like, if we talk about the dancing, just the hip hop dancing, not the music, the dancing, like break dancing, has been created by Latinos and Afro American. But now you have Asians and you have white people killing it. Does that mean that it's disrespectful for Latinos or Black American, like Afro Americans? No, they just have to keep up and come back better. Like as soon as a culture is embraced by others, it doesn't have to be every time disrespectful. This is my vision of it. And then the other question that I also had a lot recently is like, why there is no more Black people in the scene? And it left me speechless at first. But the best answer I think I have about it is the fact that in every African environment all over the world, that is Africa, like in the US, in France, in the UK, every time there is like an urban movement that is probably connected with African people, not only African people, but when African people are involved in it, the thing is like the music keeps changing every 6 months. There is every time a new movement that is happening, and with that movement comes a dance. So this being said, this is for me the only decent answer I can have in mind, or the only decent reason, is the fact that they are not in need of self-expression. They have something. They never stopped expressing themselves. So why should they turn back? And they are not in need of anything. So the only thing that is sad is that they don't probably know their roots with Lindy Hop and vernacular dances connected with jazz, but they are not in need about it. They see it expressing themselves. So
I think
this is, I think, more Black people in it, because they are not in need about something.
I feel like while I understand that, and I think for that especially, as far as the style is, my experience in the street scene, which is very limited, I should say. I don't know if it's like a new thing, if it's like a sort of renaissance or what, but they actually do really pay attention to the roots, and they do talk about jazz, and at least especially in like the club dances, like the house scene and those kind of things. Like they do talk about the jazz and those roots and like the Nicholas Brothers, Berry Brothers, Spirit Moves, all that stuff. And so they know and they respect it. And I think that I would say, like, where I like to compare, I suppose, like, why isn't Lindy Hop, why aren't there more Black people dancing Lindy Hop, or like when the African cultures do more sort of jazz-based types of things? I kind of try and compare it, I suppose, to Latin dances, because, for instance, like salsa, or rather mambo, I guess, and Lindy Hop kind of grew up around the same time. And you still see way more like Latin and Afro-Latin influence in African dancing, even like modern African dancing, or in like modern urban dances. You see a lot more of that influence than you do see of the sort of vernacular jazz, or at least like even like it's still in their music. Like they do, like in the music, there's a lot more Latin rhythms than there are jazz rhythms, for instance. Even within their music. So it's just interesting. I wonder why, and I don't have any idea why, I just wonder why like, you know, the street dancing has, with their music, like kind of held on to those things and not the other things. And I feel like part of the reason is accessibility. Like I feel like there's a lot about Lindy Hop that's kind of really hard to get to, especially if you're poor, and it just kind of, you know, comes to the subject of intersectionality and how, especially in America, which I don't know what it's like in France, but I mean, as far as in America, there's a lot of disparity between Black people, or just people of color in general, and white people, like in terms of like how much money they make, you know what I mean? And what kind of like opportunities are even available geographically, like in their area. Like, do they have to take a bus an hour to get a lesson, or is it in their backyard? Or, you know what I mean? Or can you like get in your car and drive there. And is it, you know what I mean? Like, is it, you know, like $3 a lesson, or is it $10 a lesson? Like these kind of things that I feel like are like prohibitive, because the way that we do this dance, I mean, like our camps that we have are so expensive. And even like weekly classes and things like that are so expensive. And it's that kind of thing that I just wonder, I mean, there has to be some kind of a connection there. Like why, you know what I mean? Like, why is it that one
Right.
is more popular than the other? I mean, you could also say that the level of difficulty in Lindy Hop is higher than it is in salsa too. So that might be a turnoff for just people in general. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I feel like I feel like Lindy Hop is kind of classist also. You know what I mean?
It could be.
And it's,
Yeah, it could have gotten to that point already.
as it is.
The thing is, like for me, I would be happy to help, and I already did it. But like for me, it's like, yeah, like it's important to bring Lindy up to Black communities. This is one thing, bring Lindy up to Black communities. But like bringing Black communities to Lindy up in order to say like, well, at least there is Black people in the scene, I found it super uncomfortable for me to watch. And
That's
and
really
there is,
weird.
yeah, and there is a couple of moments that I was watching like shows, performances, and I mean, we here, it's family, right?
Yeah.
Like I can,
Yeah,
like,
Yes.
like
Say what you gotta say.
I've seen things, and like just because it was under the Frankie Foundation or whatever, like it was just awkward. Like that was terrible. And just because people are Black doesn't give the legitimacy. Like it's not legit to have like, yeah, this is a performance by Black people, so it's amazing. No, it's terrible. So it's like for me bringing, in a way, and if I push it to the extreme point, it's like bringing people and expose them as monkeys and celebrate that because they are Black people and this is where Lindy Hop come from. I'm like, man, there is like maybe non-Black people that are killing it way much more, like at the same level experience. So it's uncomfortable for me to watch that and to agree on that and to support that.
Right.
I want to support it, but I want it to be right.
Right. That is like the epitome of what we fear. What is the problem when you go extreme right or extreme left? Andrea, I think you were trying to chime in with something. Did you have?
Yeah, like hearing what we're talking about, and there's a lot of things I agree with, some things I disagree with. I really feel like dance in general. I mean, I really would like people have access to it, regardless of like cost or whether or not they're good at it. I just feel like dance is such a great way of expressing yourself and sort of dealing with life. I feel like I come from a place where I can say without any reservation that like dancing saved my life. And you know, if that was about whether or not I was going to be good at it, then holy crap, I'd be dead right now. So I just think for me and my personal experience, I think that the reasons why we don't have more Black people dancing right now, I agree with both Remy and Sara, but I think that it comes down to cost, access, and then just not scaring people away. I think because once we finally do get there, like there's those really awkward and comfortable moments, and it makes you kind of out of that. From my own personal experience, I have lived in Orange County most of my life. Orange County, California is pretty affluent. I'm not going to say that I was poor, but I definitely had some squeeze on my budget. And it was really difficult for me to save the money to go to workshops weekly, to join dance teams, to learn all of this stuff. I would go to a dance after I had taken all the classes, go to the dance, and then find instructors teaching people out on the lawn for free. I just paid all this money to go to those classes, do those things, and that was frustrating. And I will always remember that the only reason I didn't meet Frankie Manning is because I couldn't afford the class. I was like $7 short for this class, and I didn't have any more room on my credit card. So that to me like breaks my heart, because I just didn't have enough money to and I'm just like outside the window watching this class happen. And I didn't actually even know who he was at the time. So that was really frustrating for me. And I saved up my money, and the very first camp I went to was Camp Jitterbug. I didn't even have a good swing out yet. It was awful. And I remember the feeling that I had when I finally got a swing out for the first time at Camp Jitterbug. And I was so excited, and I talked to the instructor. afterwards, and he asked me who my inspirations were, and I told him that I really loved Joel McGowan, and I thought the way that she moved was beautiful, and he was like, he recoiled at that, and he was like, let me show you who you should be trying to dance like, and and then all of the the Hells of Pop videos, the Normas, all of the Fridas, all the stuff I should be dancing like.
Wow.
And I was like, this is all cool too, but it broke my heart again that like I wasn't allowed to be inspired by something that wasn't Black. So it was like access was hard enough getting to the dance studio. Then I had to pay for all of that. That's difficult for people who don't have resources to do those things. And then when you get there, you get sort of shoved out. Thank God for like, I feel like the middle ground. Mabel Lee is my middle ground. that there are so many different kinds of dancers and different kinds of people and different kinds of ways of doing this dance. But like once people try to tell you who you need to be in an environment,
Right.
it's done. And I'm so glad that I don't have to be good at this dance to enjoy it. And Remy, if you don't like the way I dance, don't look.
But wait a minute, you have to be good at it because you're Black.
Oh my God. Oh my
That's a
gosh.
foregone conclusion. So guys, I once again, I'm an idiot. I like to say stupid shit. So we're never going to get to kind of there's no answer here.
Right.
But the question constantly comes up is it important to continuously recognize the Black influence on Lindy Hop? Is that do we need to keep going back there, or is it important to celebrate the people who keep it going, right? Or is there no distinction there? Is there no yes or no, true or false?
I think it should be both. You should, I feel like, especially if people don't know, if somebody comes in and they have no idea, for me, it's important. But for me, history is important in all areas of life, regardless, you know what I mean? Like, even if you don't bring race into it, you should totally give props to the originators. It's just like respectful, And although I do think it is important also to recognize people who push the boundaries and who are evolving and who like to do new things, especially because it's important, I think, to have both aspects of this dance. We need to have preservationists because it's a historical dance and we're essentially dancing in a time capsule a lot of times. And it's important to push it forward because otherwise we'd all get bored and everybody would just like stop doing it. You know what I mean? I think that it's important to do both. I think it's especially important to recognize the Black contribution when it's being willfully ignored. And, or even like, I just think it's important because it's a part of how the dance was. It's what shaped the dance. Race absolutely shaped Lindy Hop. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't not relevant at the time, for sure. And especially, that's.
I agree.
Anybody got
I
anything?
think it's both as well.
What's that, Remy?
Like,
Yeah.
it's important, I think, to like, we can't forget about where it comes from, and if we do, then this is disrespectful. And I think, and again, like for me, I have not that much connection with old timers, with history. I'm kind of new in the scene in a way, so like I never met Frankie Manning. So for me, like I had a lot of things about I felt like because I was Black, I was the new thing, I was the one that will be like Frankie kind of like gave legacy to Ryan and Steven, and then like I was afraid that for people it would be me and stuff like that, and I don't want to have all of those pressure. So for me, I was like I kind of hold like a statement, like I didn't want to dig into the past. I didn't want to analyze videos. I didn't want to read Frankie biography, so I can keep my own authenticity, like the truth to myself. So I keep saying that at some point, reproduction, it's something that for me, I don't value for myself. I completely respect people that do it, and it's important on one hand. But for me, I don't value it because I want to dance like me. I don't want to dance like throughout somebody else, like somebody else's body, somebody else's mind, like mindset when he was doing something at a time that I will not necessarily connected. So I'm inspired by video and I love watching them, but I'm not a geek about videos. But at the same time, it would be disrespectful to forget about them. Like, we need to honor that and respect that. So I have a lot of respect with history, but I wanna do it like I feel, because I feel like I'm deeply connected. Like, for me, Lindy Hop is more like a spirit than a dance in a way. And I have the feeling deep inside that I'm connected. I'm embracing the spirit. And then, yeah, it stopped in history, Lindy Hop stopped. What if you would have never stopped? Where Lindy Hop would be today? So for me, and from what I understood, thanks to Ryan, let's say, like, Lindy Hop is a rebel dance that get influences by all the movement and dance style, like mambo and black bottom, and so trying to keep exactly like it was is disrespectful to how they created it. Yeah. And then, yeah, it stopped on time. It stopped in time. But is it respectful for the people that have created it, like invented it, like sweat a lot of, like, they put a lot of effort about creating something without thinking they would create a craze or something that will stay in time. But, like, would they be happy to see that we do what they do? My deep, like, answer inside is no. And when I see and I hear old timers nowadays saying that they want to see Lindy Hop like it was, I don't believe in it. For me, this is an attempt on taking attention, like, again, without disrespecting anything and anybody. But for me, like, I don't think they really, like, they should be happy that it's still dance and that it's danced all over the world. And the people that have created that would have loved, and this is what I love to think about, and maybe I'm completely wrong, would have loved to, like, it's like, okay, we've started that, and take it away. And so disrespecting, for me, history by forgetting about it, like not talking about history and where it comes from, is disrespectful. Right. But then trying to revolutionize it is also disrespectful. Like, I consider myself as a dancer that love to create and push the boundaries until a certain extent. Like, I love pushing the boundaries without disrespecting the roots. This is how I love to describe myself. I don't want to revolutionize the dance. But I don't want to dance like it was in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Like, we are in 2017. A lot of different influences, body awareness. Like, they didn't have enough look back to develop their own dancing when we have the chance to do it. This is what I think. Right. So as Sara said, long story short, yes, it's both. We should continuing, like, honoring and respecting, like, the past, but also honoring people that keep, like, the legacy moving forward, I think.
Right. I mean, what's that, Andrew?
Sorry, I agree on some level. I just want to say that, like, I'm really grateful for the Frankie Manning because it gave access to a lot of, sort of history through, the eyes of some of the people who lived it. And I do hear a lot of, the old timers saying stuff like they want to see it the way that it was. And I hear what you're saying, Remy. But I think I look at it a slightly different way in that, like, for me, Lindy Hop is sort of a gift, like I have said before, and when people ask me, is that I feel like Black community isn't always given a ton of things to be really proud of. And, if you grow up a certain way, you're sort of facing negativity and adversity just, for wearing your own skin. And I think that Lindy Hop is this sort of pure and wonderful spirit that was born out of this culture. That is something that is 100% something that we can be proud of. So I feel like historically, that I feel like maybe the old timers have this feeling like they did sweat and bleed over this thing that they made back then, and they want to give it as a gift to to Black dancers today, and maybe that's what that conversation comes out of, when they are asked about that, is that there's some sort of disappointment that they've labored over this thing, and then it feels so like sort of widely rejected by the children of their ancestry just doesn't want to carry it forward. I think that I've seen old video of Frankie dancing, but I've also seen old video of Frankie watching, and the kinds of moves that we see today are so outside of the scope of what was happening at the time that Frankie was dancing as a young man. And I've seen him in video light up and just blow up with all this energy when he sees something that makes him go wow, and so I don't think at least with Frankie, I don't think that he wanted the dance to stay in the 30s. I think that he expected and he loves that the dance has moved forward, but I think that they also wanted to see their own faces in the dance as it moved forward as well. And I think that has always been sort of my goal. And I started a nonprofit, which still working on getting on its feet. And I'm starting with my local church to introduce kids to the dance and just to have them be excited about something that is something to be excited about when they go home. And most of the things that they work on at home or they experience in their IRL is not something to be super excited about. So to give them that break and they can say that, wow, I looked at these videos and these people look like me, dance like me, and act like me or whatever. And I think that's what I got from old videos is that is I wasn't trying to reproduce the things I saw in old videos, but it gave me permission to be more like me, because I would see something that was completely wild. You see all the weird stuff that people do in those videos, and just you can do anything. And I think that for me, when I started dancing, I was in such an emotionally tough spot for me that it gave me sort of the therapy I needed to break out. I don't know. So I guess that I can see why a community would need this dance or something like this dance, something that's freeing, that is something that they can see themselves in. But I agree in that it doesn't have to be this dance, and that there's no reason why the next person doesn't own the dance as much as I do today.
Right.
I'm not. I don't think anyone should be excluded from this dance or feel less than because their ancestor didn't start it or whatever. I mean, if we started doing that, there'd be a lot of things I wouldn't be allowed to do. I'd have to go everywhere by bicycle because I couldn't take planes, trains, or automobiles. You can't cut other cultures out of something, but we should be allowed to be proud of it. And
Right.
I think that's where it kind of needs to stop.
Right. Well, guys, I'm afraid to say we're out of time. I really appreciate all your opinions and stuff. I'm just gonna mention, Remy, if Lindy Hop didn't stop, I feel like I'd be cleaning the bathroom in the cinema down the street, trying to make life happen, living just enough for the city. No, I digress. Because I'm an idiot. I think just to close this up, and it'll be nice if we can have another conversation about this at some point. We'll see what people say in the comments. They may hate it, they may love it, but just the fact that we're having this conversation, and I feel that even if it's not this conversation brought up by Black people themselves, it's usually brought up by non-Blacks, but even still, knowing this and having these conversations is part of what makes this community grow. Not having these conversations at all would be a huge problem. So I thank you once again to Sara Deckard, and thank you, Remy. Oh my God, Remy Kouakou Kouame.
You can do better.
I can do better.
Take your time.
It's getting late, man.
Don't rush it.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Andrea Gordon. I'm just moving on, Remy, now. I lost
This is what brings me back to it.
I lost my Black cred right there, right at the end. Thank everyone for watching SwingNation. Once again, let us know in the comments below how you feel. Give us a like. Also, subscribe to the channel. And if you feel at all that this helped you out in any way and you want to give, you can of course give to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Yehoodi. Anything like from $1 a month will help us continue to bring these things to you and the Lindy Hop community. And with that, I will say thank you and see you in the next one.